When Amara Johnson's name was deliberately left off the guest list of an elite gala, the organizers thought they could erase her presence without consequence. They didn't know her husband, billionaire titan Marcus Reed, would turn their calculated snub into a moment of reckoning that would shake their exclusive world to its core. Amara Johnson stood in the dimly lit hallway of her Manhattan penthouse, staring at the email on her phone. The subject line read, "Gala guest list confirmation," but her name was nowhere to be found. Her husband, Marcus Reed, the billionaire CEO of Reed Enterprises, was listed as an honored attendee, but Amara, his wife of 5 years, had been omitted. She read the email again, her brow furrowing as she scrolled through the attached list. Her heart sank, though she wasn't entirely surprised. This wasn't the first time she'd been sidelined, but it stung all the same. Marcus emerged from his study, adjusting the cufflinks on his tailored tuxedo. At 42, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who'd built an empire from nothing. His tech conglomerate dominated industries from artificial intelligence to renewable energy, and his name was synonymous with power. But it was Amara who grounded him, who reminded him of the world beyond boardrooms and balance sheets. She was a brilliant attorney, a philanthropist, and a woman whose presence commanded respect, when people chose to give it. "Everything okay?" Marcus asked, noticing the tension in Amara's posture. She handed him the phone without a word. Marcus scanned the email, his jaw tightening as he realized what had happened. "They left you off," he said, his voice low but laced with an edge that Amara recognized. It was the tone he used when someone crossed a line, and Marcus Reed didn't tolerate lines being crossed. "It's the Sterling Gala," Amara said, her voice steady despite the hurt. "The one hosted by the Whitmore Foundation. I've been working with them for months on their education initiatives. I helped secure half their funding this year." Marcus's eyes narrowed. The Whitmore Foundation was a cornerstone of New York's elite philanthropy scene, a glittering network of old money and new influence. Their annual gala was a who's who of the city's most powerful, and Amara had been instrumental in their recent success. Her exclusion wasn't an oversight, it was deliberate. "I'll handle this," Marcus said, already pulling out his phone. Amara placed a hand on his arm. "Don't. Not yet. Let's see how this plays out." He looked at her, searching her face. Amara was no stranger to being underestimated or overlooked. As a black woman navigating spaces dominated by privilege, she'd faced subtle slights and overt dismissals her entire career. But she'd also learned to pick her battles, and this one felt personal. The Whitmore Foundation's board, chaired by Evelyn Whitmore, had always been polite to her face, but Amara had sensed their unease. Her confidence, her unapologetic presence, seemed to unsettle them. This was their move to put her in her place. Marcus relented, though his expression made it clear he wasn't letting this go. "We'll go together," he said. "They'll see you there, whether they like it or not." Amara nodded, but her mind was already racing. She wasn't just going to show up, she was going to make sure they remembered her. The Sterling Gala was held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, a venue that screamed exclusivity. The guest list included senators, CEOs, and cultural icons, all mingling under the glow of chandeliers and the weight of their own egos. Amara and Marcus arrived in a sleek black car, stepping onto the red carpet as cameras flashed. She wore a deep emerald gown that hugged her curves, her hair swept into an elegant updo that highlighted the diamond necklace Marcus had given her on their anniversary. He was dashing in his tuxedo, but it was Amara who drew eyes. Her presence was magnetic, and she knew it. At the entrance, a young woman with a clipboard scanned their invitation. Her smile faltered as she looked at Amara. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but your name isn't on the list." Marcus stepped forward, his voice calm but commanding. "There must be a mistake. My wife, Amara Johnson, is with me." The woman's eyes darted nervously to her supervisor, a stern-looking man in a suit who approached with a practiced smile. "Mr. Reed, we're so honored to have you. There seems to be a slight mix-up with the guest list. We'll sort it out." Amara's lips curved into a polite smile, but her eyes were sharp. "I'm sure you will," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. The supervisor hesitated, then nodded, allowing them to pass. Inside, the gala was a spectacle of wealth and influence. Crystal flutes clinked, and laughter echoed through the grand halls. Amara scanned the room, spotting Evelyn Whitmore holding court near a display of ancient artifacts. Evelyn was in her 60s, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, her demeanor radiating old money authority. She caught Amara's eye and offered a tight smile before turning back to her conversation. "They're watching us," Amara murmured to Marcus. "Let them," he replied. "They're about to learn what happens when they play these games." As the evening progressed, Amara mingled with ease, her charm disarming even the most guarded attendees. She spoke passionately about the education initiatives she'd championed, her eloquence drawing nods of approval from those who hadn't expected her depth. But she felt the undercurrent of judgment, the whispers behind champagne glasses. Some admired her. Others saw her as an outsider who'd married into power. Marcus, meanwhile, was quietly gathering information. He pulled aside a board member he knew well, a tech investor named Richard Langston, and asked about the guest list oversight. Richard shifted uncomfortably, admitting that Evelyn had personally overseen the final list. "She said something about keeping the event streamlined," Richard muttered, avoiding Marcus's gaze. "Streamlined," Marcus repeated, his voice cold. "And that meant excluding my wife," Richard stammered, but Marcus didn't wait for an explanation. He returned to Amara's side, his expression unreadable. "It was Evelyn," he said quietly. "She made the call." Amara's chest tightened, but she kept her composure. "Then let's give her something to think about." Over the next week, Amara and Marcus devised a plan. They weren't going to confront Evelyn directly. That would be too easy. Instead, they would hit the Whitmore Foundation where it hurt: their influence and their funding. Amara had spent years building her own network, and she knew the power of connections. She reached out to key donors, subtly highlighting the foundation's recent oversights in recognizing contributors like herself. She didn't mention the Gala snub explicitly, but her message was clear: the foundation's leadership wasn't as inclusive as it claimed. Marcus, meanwhile, leveraged his own influence. Reed Enterprises was a major player in philanthropy, and its grants carried weight. He quietly instructed his team to pause a $10 million pledge to the Whitmore Foundation's education fund, citing concerns about alignment with our values. Word spread quickly among the donor community, and whispers of the foundation's misstep began to circulate. Evelyn Whitmore noticed the shift. At a board meeting 2 weeks after the gala, she was visibly rattled as reports came in about declining donations. "What's going on?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "We've never had trouble with funding before." One board member, a younger woman named Claire Dawson, spoke up. "There's talk that Amara Johnson was excluded from the gala. People are saying it was intentional. Donors are pulling back because they don't want to be associated with that kind of optics." Evelyn's face flushed. "That's absurd." "It was a clerical error." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Was it? Because I heard you reviewed the list yourself." The room fell silent. Evelyn's authority was rarely challenged, but the board was growing uneasy. The Whitmore Foundation relied on its reputation, and a scandal, even